Holy Wakanda for gorillas, Batman! Tiki here, and I have been watching through each and every episode of Batman the Animated Series for the first time, and alas, we are well on our way towards covering all the Batman related content within the broader DC animated universe. Dragon, tell them why we're here.
Well, you see, folks, long ago I made a vow. A vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way. But now, as you probably noticed, Batman has become part of a bigger universe, and the mission goes on as we enter the greater DCAU.
That's right, and tonight we are talking Dead Reckoning. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dragon, I want to formally apologize, man, because I don't know if I don't know if it was my fault that we didn't get this out by Halloween, but this would have been perfect to do like in conjunction with Halloween.
yeah.
But so Dragon, my opinions on this are pretty simple actually. I really like it a lot as a Justice League episode. Like honestly, out of all the Justice League episodes we've seen, it might be like in my top five. There's a lot of fun character interactions. I really love the very extended gag with Superman and the milkshake. I adore the payoff to that. That is just like honestly one of my favorite gags within the entirety of the DCAU from what I have seen. You have to use a spoon. I love it. I
What am
love
I
it.
doing? Why am I in Africa?
That's just oh my god, it's a beautiful punchline. Um, a lot of fun villain crossover here. I did really like the power set of the ghost character. I thought it was really interesting how he would jump in between the multiple different characters. And Dragon, it's kind of funny because with these Justice League episodes, I'm always kind of like trying to deconstruct it as I'm watching it. Like, okay, like what is it about this episode from a Batman point of view that we have to cover this? And throughout this episode, I was like, all right, like Batman, he's in it, he's in the thick of it, but like there's not really a lot here. And then of course, Dragon, we get to like the very end of the episode. I'm like, oh, that's why.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. It is a very impactful Batman moment for sure. But Dragon, it just kind of like it begs the quandary here where it's like I absolutely understand why we are covering this for the one moment with the gun. I do get it. But like I feel like this might be the first time that we've done one of these bat caves where we're covering an episode literally for a singular scene almost.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So yeah, it's so odd that I think the writer on this episode, he many a times got the episodes that were in JLU, particular JLU and well, both first season and of course the kind of this is kind of like the last ditch season with basically we're finally doing Legion of Doom for a season, and it feels the I call it the second season. The DVDs have it all. Everywhere has it all script like how many seasons of JLU there actually are. But let's just say for
Oh
simplicity's
no, I
sake,
noticed
there.
that as well. Like Amazon
Yeah,
Prime has 2 seasons, even though
yeah.
this was listed as a season 3 episode on
So
Google.
just to take my for simplicity's sake, let's just say there are two seasons of Justice
uh,
League Unlimited. All right, you have season one, which is all the Cadmus stuff, and season two, which is the Legion of Doom stuff. Rather simple. So the Legion of Doom stuff, which essentially is like, man, we ended things as finally as we could with JLU, and they want us to come back. What do we do? Well, let's do everything we didn't do yet, which basically does not leave a lot of room for Batman because well, let's just do the stuff we've done gobs and reams of Batman, you know. But again, what we didn't do with Batman was rather substantial, usually very singular in the moments, oddly
uh-huh.
enough. So that's kind of what these last three episodes we have really kind of are here for a JLU. You know, between this and we kind of jumped really forward with this, by the way, because we had Doomsday Sanction. I forget if that was the last one we did or not, but yeah, we
Sounds right.
I think so. Doomsday Sanction was in the first season of Justice League Unlimited. This is like the only real Batman episode we have in this, and then we're gonna kind of cover like the last vestige we have of Batman the DCU
uh-huh.
before we get to all the kind of the good future stuff with Batman Beyond.
of course. Batman
Anywho,
Beyond has kind of been like the end game of this
yeah,
podcast from the get go. So
it's the
yeah,
third act. It's the
we're
dramatic
getting
third
there,
act.
folks. We're getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah, but of course it's so I guess give you a little bit of context on Dead Reckoning. There's not a whole lot, but yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
So this was directed by Dan Reba, of course, the Dan Scanlon of the DCAU. I like to refer to him as kind of the
The
coalition of
Dan
Dans.
Bands.
Yeah, the Danny Boys,
Oh God.
the Danistans.
Okay, that just now I'm just thinking of like a Hollywood Illuminati of Dans.
Here's your package, Dan.
Yeah, that Dan has to be there. Yes.
He's there
Dan
to smoke.
Castellaneta.
Yep.
All right.
Anyway, point being, he did the Brave and the
Dan
Bold.
from Roseanne.
Okay.
You see, this Illuminati of Dan's Dragon, the important thing is it has to have a potent mix of fictional characters and real life Dans.
Okay.
All right. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, so Dan Reba did the Brave and the Bold. No, not the show with Diedrich Bader Batman. There was an episode called The Brave and the Bold as like a reference to the actual comic, The Brave and the Bold. And that introduced Gorilla City, and that was the whole that's where we get Gorilla City and Gorilla Grodd and everything. So that is
Yeah,
very
as you
much
can tell by
reason
my
for it.
Holy Dragon, I was pretty excited about the whole concept of Gorilla City, and like it's literally Wakanda, and I love it.
Yeah, and then you have Wild Cards, which is another really great one, which is a much more Batman-centric episode of Justice League.
Uh-huh.
Then you have the writer on this, of course, is the dearly departed Dwayne McDuffie, who left this world far too soon. He did Wild Cards as well, Brave and the Bold, and Doomsday Sanction. So again, Dwayne McDuffie knows how to mic drop a great Batman moment because, of course, he had the whole "I just took a bullet for you,"
Right,
he's excellent. The studio worked on this was Doctor Movie Co. Limited. So these guys did they did the Mystery of the Batwoman animated movie, and then they did kids stuff. The episode from they don't do a lot, but they did kids stuff on Justice League Unlimited back in the first season.
You know what the style of this episode reminded me of, Dragon, and I have no idea if I'm just like totally like if this is just totally baseless. But it really felt like kind of like the house style of like Jackie Chan Adventures or something like that. I don't know.
Really, you got a Jackie Chan vibe?
I got a Jackie Chan Adventures vibe from some of this. Yeah.
I mean, I never looked.
I don't know if it's like maybe the way the action was choreographed or some of the character designs of some of the minor villains or what. I don't know.
I'm not sure. All I know is that's the Batman is all is literally done by the same team who did Jackie Chan
right,
Adventures.
yeah.
So the Batman show is very steeped in that. I don't know if there's perhaps the same studio or not that maybe worked on this. I don't know if Doctor Movie Co. did that animation or not, but I'm not sure.
Oh.
Anywho, so basically, this is oddly enough. At this point, we're kind of at the because of the big thing ends this episode. We're kind of at the mid-season of season 2 in a sense. It's not really. It's only like 13 episodes. I don't know if you can really call it a mid-season, but essentially, it's the big shift, with how the episode ends in terms of who's running the Legion of Doom. So this is basically the big.
I mean, we basically kill off Grodd at the end of this episode. That's kind of a big deal.
No, he's alive. You hear him grunt. He's.
No, I figured he was alive. Yeah, but it is a pretty savage just gut shot via Luthor, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that's the thing. This is kind of like the Legion of Doom season basically breaks down into two halves. Grodd's big plan, which they build up to this. This is the big payoff of Grodd's plan, which, as you can see, Lex isn't thrilled with. And then you have the Lex Luthor half of the season, which takes us to the end, essentially, of the DC animated universe.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of where we are in terms of like plot wise here. Basically, the whole beginning of our season is that Gorilla Grodd has formed his own Justice League, but on a massive scale. Like not the Injustice Gang, not Small Potatoes, not the Secret Society. Like he's doing the full-on Legion of Doom, which to mirror the Justice League has like 52 plus members. We have like infinite villains that are all working for Grodd, and Grodd's being very careful, making sure the Justice League is none the wiser that these guys are working as their own Justice League.
Uh-huh.
These are like disparate villain team-ups and plots and schemes. They're not all feeding into whatever Gorilla Grodd's planning. So let's see. So Deadman, he is quite the beloved character. He was created by Arnold Drake and the great Carmine Infantino, one of the great, basically the guy who in the comics really brought 60s Batman and made it look cool in comics. So he was very much behind the 60s Batman look before we got into the full-on Neil Adams. He was very much the predecessor there.
So wait, I'm sorry, he wasn't the guy to do the actual like 60s Batman comic book, right?
Well, no. That's well, Jeff Parker's the writer on that, and you have like guys like Mike Allred and stuff. No,
Okay,
that's later on. No, but that's the thing. Infantino. He was the point being. Infantino is the better thing I should have led with. Infantino is the artist behind the Flash's Silver Age costume and the Green Lantern in the Silver Age. Like that's Infantino.
gotcha.
Point being, I think Dead Man also became very widely known by, of course, the very again this episode very cyclical in a sense. Neil Adams, of course, who recently passed on, and Neil Adams did a really famous stint on Dead Man in terms of how he looks and everything. A lot of great covers of Dead Man. Did even a story about Dead Man, like interacting with Batman for a spell. So the Batman and Dead Man have kind of interacted a few times. So speaking of which, the big thing I need to mention, the only precursor you're going to need here for this episode, is that we do reference Batman meeting Deadman. Now, as you recall, you've never seen Batman interact with Deadman. Here's why.
That is correct.
So, Deadman was a tie-in comics thing, so they actually reference the tie-in comics here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Basically, there were two tie-in comics. It was very simple. Back in basically during the animated series era, between Batman, Dick Grayson, Robin, you saw Robin go back to the Haley Circus for an episode, and Deadman got murdered.
All right.
Which is
I mean,
it's the
I
comic
was
book.
able to pick up on the plot pretty quickly. It's not really a complicated plot by any means, but
What's really cool though is the fact that if I have it correct, and I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that it might have been the first time they had the idea like, hey, Deadman's an acrobat. We have another famous acrobat in the
sure,
acrobat in the DC
sure.
universe. Let's just have him be at the Haley Circus, replacing the idea is he replaced the Flying Graysons after they died. He was the next acrobat act
Uh-huh.
that took over, but he was like a daredevil acrobat, given like they were trying to publicize the tragedy. Anyway, so then there was another animated tie-in comic in which basically what happens here is referenced, where Batman helped him solve his murder, which in the comics was a League of Assassins thing. I forget if they went that far in the animated tie-in comic or not, but a hook-handed man, very fugitive-esque, pulled the trigger on Deadman, and Batman helped him solve that murder.
Hmm.
And there's one last bit, and then we'll just jump right into it. So Andrea Romano, she I believe this is the first time she ever put into practice her new voiceover technique, which came in handy when they did the big Flash Lex Luthor brain switch episode. So there's this voiceover technique in which she would have, because we have a thing here where Deadman possesses a body. The actor sounds remarkably like Deadman, right?
Right, yeah.
But that's not the Deadman. Like it's not them like combining the voices. What they're doing is Andrea Romano put them both in this room at the same time, and she had them basically read the lines against each other a few times until they got the rhythms of each other. So you'd have George
So
Newbern
it's
sounding
literally
like
like the actors talking over each other?
it's not overlaid. It's just them really doing it, rehearsing it a number of times and studying the other actor
Oh,
until they
wow,
just
that's crazy.
like get it. So apparently, yeah, it was a lot of people thought it was like an
Uh-huh.
effect or like they laid it over, but it's just them really doing a good job.
I, I mean, that's kind of what I assume, just because you know me, Dragon. Like one of the things we always champion here on the channel is just the immense, never-ending talent of the voice actor. But
I'm just saying, Andrea Romano, the voice director of the century, by as far as I'm concerned. She's the one she had these really clever ideas, man. Of like, okay, well, can you remember the last time you've seen an effect like this before, where you had to have him like do like sound like he's possessing the body, but also sound like both voices simultaneously?
no, I mean you're right. It's very forward-thinking for sure.
All right, all that said,
All right.
let's dive
So
into it.
really quick before we get into it, Atomp B says, "Yes, this is where the status quo shifted, but I kind of wish the plot was more interesting."
Yeah. Well,
I assume he means the plot of this particular episode.
I think so, and I don't think he's wrong because by the end of this episode, we do kind of well, we'll get there when we get there. Let's just put a pin in that. We'll get with that with the plot, but I see his point.
All right, so Dragon, with this being like, how are we going to break this day? Like, I assume we're not really going to go beat by beat through a lot of this, so I kind of want you to just kind of take the reins on it in terms of like what's essential to cover here.
Yeah, sure. So I guess just to set things up in a roundabout way here. So we have our introduction to a Boston brand, Dead Man, who was at Nanda Parbat, which was going to be a location Batman has visited before. It's kind of our Himalayas from Batman Begins, if you will.
What was that? It's not Batman Ninja, but what was that other Batman movie where he had the martial arts experience?
Oh, you're thinking of Soul of the Dragon.
Yes. So this setting kind of reminded me a little bit of that. It's kind of like Batman sort of dipping his toe into the Shang-Chi style kind of mythology a little bit.
If memory serves, I believe in Solar Dragon that was Nanda Parbat as well. I
Okay,
think I
okay,
could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that was all. Because usually Nanda Parbat is like the central monk location in the DC universe, and when they have the opportunity to use it, they will usually use it.
sure.
Yeah. So basically, all in all, we just set up the hallmarks of Dead Man here. Where the idea is he's an aimless spirit who it's been a year after he's caught. Thanks to Batman's help, he caught the man who murdered him, the hook-handed man. And he got his, and he's been given this a second chance essentially to he was given a second chance by a Hindu goddess essentially by Ramakrishna.
Uh-huh.
So that's why he's basically the aimless spirit. The idea, by the way, is he dressed up as like a ghost daredevil acrobat. So that's why he looks like that. By the way, like he was all in makeup and everything when he did it.
I do really dig his look.
It's really cool, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, suppose we set up like, why am I still here? And then, of course, the master, we just call him the master. The master spells out that, because you're not here to avenge your death, you're here to avenge mine. It's like his whole cosmic purpose for being here is today. Bum, bum, bum. Legion of Doom arrives.
Yeah, so this is cool. Just like right off the start of the episode, like literally like 90 seconds in, Legion of Doom, just like all the big bads from across the DC universe just coming in. I mean, that's one way to start your episode, man.
Yeah, I mean, craziest things. Batman doesn't show up until the halfway mark of the episode.
Yeah, 10 minutes in. I was definitely timing that. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, pretty much all of our good guys. Even I don't think they show up until the 10-minute mark either. Because that's when they're having a big conversation, and they really show up until then.
No, you're right. But, I mean, it's like with the Legion of Doom. Legion of Doom shows up about 2 minutes 30 seconds in, and then we get the Justice League opening.
Yeah.
And then from there, Dragon, we get another solid like 6-7 minutes of just setup before we even get to the Justice League.
So just Legion of Doom. The idea is like, let's just do our Legion of Doom in total is like, let's just do our wish fulfillment. Like, what are the villains we'd love to use, but we can never. Obviously, we can't give every hero their own animated series, so we can't just put them all in there. So if we can just like work them in during this big old team up event, let's just put them in there. So we have like some really great disparate teams. You got Lex and Bizarro. And the coolest thing about Bizarro,
Lex and Bizarro was really fun. Yeah.
The coolest thing though is that Superman the animated series, they didn't necessarily do the backwards thing. If you notice, there was a scar on Bizarro's head. So the idea is that Luthor did brain surgery on Bizarro, so now he does the backwards thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's why, but like Lex is controlling him by giving like the backwards commands.
Sure,
like Superman is your best friend. That whole
Bizarro just basically operates on opposite day logic.
And it's the same logic in terms of how they do the voice of Bizarro, where you have the actor playing Superman do a Bizarro voice, so it's George Newbern playing Bizarro. Just fun.
Okay, so I will admit, Dragon, I like, I'm not even gonna lie, like looking at it now, I do think this action sequence with all the monks is probably where a lot of that Jackie Chan energy was coming from.
Yeah, the humble, like, I think they call them the humble ones. Just have like this.
Like, I don't know, right? Is that like vaguely like just being stereotyping? I don't know. I kind of feel. I don't know.
Maybe, honestly, maybe Tiki, maybe I didn't really go Jackie Chan with it. I mean, Jackie Chan obviously is more of a style.
Just like, oh, there's monks. It must be animated by the same people who did Jackie Chan.
That's the thing. You think Jackie Chan is more of like accidental fighting?
Like I am suddenly self-conscious of myself now.
A little bit. I mean. Again, I don't know. Regardless, you also have like kind of oddballs like Rampage, like the big orange lady with the purples. You have Rampage, and you get like basically Starfire on steroids, but she doesn't shoot energy.
Right.
You got Atomic Skull, who always looked really cool with the green.
Atomic Skull is basically kind of like a bad guy version of Ghost Rider, essentially. At least in design.
In design, yes. In design, absolutely. You have our magic lady, who is Tala, not Talia, Tala.
Okay, Tala, Dragon, is she she's not she isn't like Beast Boy's girlfriend from Teen Titans, right?
No, you're thinking of Terra, Tiki.
I am thinking of Terra. Thank you.
Terra is like she controls Earth and
right, because I knew she also had like some sort of like like arc to her. But anyway,
no, she did. But yeah, believe me, no. Plus, they couldn't. I don't think they could use Terra even if they wanted to.
So. All right. Anyways,
because that was going on at this time.
Sure.
Regardless, or probably I don't know. Plenty of living around that time. Anyway, so big one though, the highlight, Devil Ray. So fun story about Devil Ray.
Yeah. So tell me about this guy, because basically I was like, is this guy like what? Like, is he like like the Sam's Club version of Black Manta or what?
I mean, you're not wrong at all in that, TP, because that essentially now again, I can't say with authority here, but I'm pretty sure what happened was, given the end of this episode, they could not make it Black Manta.
Of course, yeah.
And they did build him up a little, though. It makes me wonder how much they knew. They did break the season in advance. I like to think that they knew this was going to happen, so that they built up Devil Ray in one episode where he poisoned.
Like, I assume Black Manta is going to come in the future. Is that a safe assumption?
Well, not in the DCAUT. That's this was it. They
Oh, okay.
Because remember, they were very light on Aquaman in the entirety of the
right,
DCAU.
but they still didn't want to just kill off like basically Aquaman's big flagship villain.
Exactly. Like, let's not, because for all they knew at this point, it's like, I don't know, maybe they was going to bring us back again. We don't know. Maybe we don't want
exactly. Right. Yeah.
So it's the logic of that, and they built him up. There was this episode where he poisoned Wonder Woman with like one of his little firing darts, little firing Triton things. So like that was kind of so they kind of said, okay, Devil Ray has a really cool design. It's not Black Manta, but it's the next best thing. Anyway, point being, fighty fight, really awesome.
It's
you had the
pretty
humble
much
ones.
like if you go to Spirit Halloween and be like, yeah, this isn't Black Manta, but it's totally Black Manta. Like that.
Yeah. It's the affordable Black Manta.
Right.
Okay, so the point being, the humble ones try to defend Nanda Parbat, and they discourage him. And of course, we have a really awesome fight. Like Bizarro fries a bunch of monks, which is really dark and really cool. Anyway, so Deadman tries to interject here, and he gets banished, but he gets excised by Tala, so he can't really interfere here. The Master gets killed, seemingly. They steal the heart, they get out of there, and then we have like the exposition from basically kind of very Madam Web-esque from Spider-Man the Animated Series. We have Ramakrishna kind of enter, and the big kind of floaty face and kind of a psychedelic kind of look.
Mm-hmm.
So she basically tells him that Deadman's thinking, what are we going to do? Like they killed all the monks. Like, no, you can still save the monks if you get the heart back. So this leads to this delightfully mundane bit of Wonder Woman. I love this. Speak to Batman. This is what we want to dig our heels into. So
no,
Batman,
I mean you're not wrong. Where it's like the big Batman stuff doesn't come until the end of the episode, but Batman just casually hanging out is always a pleasant treat, Dragon. I will never say no to that.
So to speak of his growth here for a moment, think about how far we've come with Batman here. He's actually socializing with Wonder Woman, who again he has feelings for, and his buddy Superman. So he's come quite a long way.
Totally.
Like for example, he's not just giving him the brush off like he probably would during the first season of Justice League. They're saying like, I basically so we could.
He's engaging in stimulating Jeff Goldblum vanilla wafer conversation, Dragon.
Sure, like Wonder Woman suggesting to grab some lunch, and Batman saying, this is always a perfect Batman line for him. He's always made the most amount of sense. Like, Batman's like, well, I'd like to, Diana, but I've been away from Gotham too long. Batman I love that it's a compulsion with Batman. With the Justice League, he cannot be a full-time member because he's
obsessed
to that city.
With Gotham, yeah.
I just love the fact that's always the great logic. That's why Batman's not on the Justice League 24/7. He's been away from Gotham too long. He has to go back. But he's adding the little
except the mission. Am I right?
True, very true.
I'm literally quoting All-Star Batman and Robin.
I know.
All right. Just as long as you know.
I get it. But I don't know. I like that, Batman, though, he is saying, no, I'd like to die. And he's like reassuring her. Yeah, he'd like to. He's grown. He's getting there. So then Superman's like, come on, Bruce. Like, they got, I know this burger place in Metropolis.
Okay, like I said, Dragon, this is just honestly probably the single best executed gag I have seen in the DCAU.
So it's like, the Superman's just glowing about this burger place in Metropolis that he found. Like the fries.
Dragon, Superman is glowing about this burger place in Metropolis so much that how Six Flags parks have their DC areas.
Yeah,
I want this damn burger place in the DC area, and all I want it to be called is just like Superman's favorite burger place from that one Justice League episode.
Really, that specific?
Not even from Dead Reckoning, just literally from that one Justice League episode.
There's Tom King. Tom King in the comics, he did this hilarious thing, or it might have been also in like the Batman Superman crossover he did, but the point being that there's like a burger place that is entirely themed to Batman in Gotham.
Oh God!
And Bruce Wayne has to go to it.
Well, I mean, that's, of course, to bring it back around to All-Star Batman and Robin, the best Batman story ever written. No, no, it's not. I'm kidding.
Yeah, lynch
But,
him, kids. Lynch him. You heard him.
like,
Get
just in case
him!
anyone actually thinks I'm serious. But, kind of that weird, the weird Black Canary Hooters bar.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Regardless, so Superman, of course, the best feature of this burger place, the milkshakes, they're
Oh my
so
God.
thick. And then, of course, as he says, this dead man, he phases into his body and possesses him. So thick, I need your help.
Wow, that's really thick.
So he goes, oh man, Wonder Woman said, like, man, he needs Batman's help with this milkshake. That is thick.
Okay, now, Dragon, I want you to picture that it wasn't that the whole scenario just doesn't, like, Ghost doesn't possess him. It literally just plays
Well,
out.
Tiki, it's not Ghost, it's Dead Man. Okay, the name's Dead Man.
Okay, I'm sorry, but like, so the dead man scenario doesn't play out. It's literally just Superman being like, "Yeah, Bruce, like you gotta help me, man. Like I can't finish this milkshake by myself." and the rest of the episode is them just getting the milkshake, and Bruce is like, "My God, Clark, you're right. This milkshake is really thick. It really is going to take the two of us." And Dragon, they just bond over finishing the milkshake together, and that's the episode.
Well, I'm going to pull an obscure 60s Batman. Milkshakes are very big for Batman. Of course, they can be in quite the romantic sense with Catwoman, or they can be in kind of the buddy sense of like the milkshakes you have to eat with a spoon. That's a buddy milkshake. Yeah.
And of course, Homer Simpson likes his milkshakes frosty and chocolate.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways.
Anyway, point being,
frosty chocolate milkshakes. Sorry.
So point being, Superman sounding very, sounding very different than he usually does. And it's going to
I love this, man. And you're right. Like the voice acting is just very on point. And I'm like I said, Dragon, I'm not surprised that this is the usual Superman voice actor because, like Dragon, I feel like we are one of the YouTube channels that really tries to go out of our way to celebrate voice acting because it's like we totally acknowledge just how multi-talented, like these people aren't just doing funny voices and impressions. It's like they are literally like doing things with their voices. They are using their voices in an instrument in the same way that singers use their voice as an instrument just for the sake of doing characters instead of making music. So yeah, I'm sorry, that long diatribe, but it is just very impressive, because the character sounds nothing like Superman.
Yeah, so it's like Newburn doing a very kind of street level New York kind of accent on Superman, which you don't really, like, I need your help. Now, don't be alarmed. I'm not actually Superman.
I mean, not to totally dilute the accent, but it's very much a classic New York. Like, I'm walking here.
Yeah. So, by the way, the voice on Dead Man is Raphael Sbarge, who we know in the I'm sure the much talked about role Jiminy Cricket from Once Upon a Time.
Oh, okay, nice, yeah. Nice.
Yes, and also he is something you know him from as well, Tiki. There's something you also know him from. He's the professor from Ba Sing Se in Avatar. Remember the one who gets trapped in the library? It's him.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, that's an iconic one-hit wonder of an Avatar character. Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho.
Oh, that makes me just want to go back. That is seriously one of the best, like, one-off episodes of Avatar ever, honestly.
Literally, just specifically the first part, or do you mean the two episodes combined?
No, I'm saying specifically just the library. Just the episode of the library.
I love Hector Alonso as the owl, man. That's great.
Anyway. I mean, that creature design. I just want to go back and watch Avatar again. Anyways.
It's got a heck of a climax with the sinking library.
It does. And then the oppa of it all.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. Look at that little blind girl cry.
Oh, God. Anyways.
She can't even see the sadness and she's weeping.
Oh, my God.
Wait. Anyway.
Okay, really quick, Tom Beast has a comment saying, tragic that this is Bizarro's fate. The last time we saw him, he was living happy with his alien dog, and now he's a lobotomized puppet of the Legion.
Yeah, I love the Bizarro Superman episodes of Superman the Animated Series so much, and they didn't do he has a really great arc. Admittedly, though, they dipped once more than they should have. He's in 3 episodes. He should have just been in 2. A third one, it's not great. But he ends in the same place. He's happy with his little alien dog. Basically, he's trying to kill him, but Bizarro thinks he's like, doggy. Anyway. Regardless, yeah. So, point being, Dead Man shows up. He basically he tries to explain to Wonder Woman what's going on here, but Batman very quick on the uptake. He knows, and I just love that Batman's so smart. He just knows, okay, it's Dead Man, Superman's body, because he's met him before. He knows how he operates, and he says, "Boston, is that you? Hiya, Bats." So Batman basically exposes the whole Batman the Animated Series tie-in thing that he helped him solve his murder and such. And the only way a brand can communicate is by possessing people, which is always the coolest thing about Dead Man. He can possess people.
Yeah, no, and the power set in this episode, especially within the fight sequences, is really fun.
It's a great limitation to give him, but the same token, it's a cool thing if he can be in anyone's body. By the same token, though, that's the only way he can do anything. So it's very interesting. So he relays the bad news that the Legion of Doom they went to Nanda Parbat and stole the heart, and it really saddens Batman when he tells him that the Master has been killed. And this, of course, is one of Batman's martial arts teachers in his travels around the globe. It's a real bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see him kind of feel that loss, and Wonder Woman kind of consoling him, which is nice. So, Deadman, again, he really got to know the Master because he was kind of stuck in Nanda Parbat, and he was just kind of like seeking guidance there. So he it was very much his mentor, was his Yinsen, one could say. And he contemplates using Superman to get revenge. Now we have a really big Batman moment that's going to be very important. Weave through our episode 2, the big Batman moment that comes later. Batman reminds him, that's not the Master's way, or yours. We'll see that justice gets done, not vengeance, which also speaks to an arc with Batman, right? You imagine Batman in the beginning was a lot more vengeance, like, I'm vengeance.
Yeah, like we literally spent an entire 3-hour film devoted to that theme, yes.
Yeah, imagine what the next movie is going to be. The next movie is going to be The Night. See, the next movie is going to be The Night.
Oh, God.
And the last one's going to be just Batman.
The next movie, he's literally just going to be cosplaying in a Black Knight outfit. Like, I changed up my look.
It's gonna be the next movie is gonna be every time Batman shows up, it's just it's slit so darkly you can't see him.
Oh my God!
Who are you? I'm the Knight.
Oh my God!
And of course, by the third one, you earn the whole I'm Batman.
Yes. Oh my God! All right.
Point being,
that's like the one thing I can really pick apart with the Batman, honestly.
But seriously, though,
it's a cool idea on paper. It's just you got to admit they hammered it home a little too much in the movie.
Sure. Point being, though, the idea that you get a sense that Batman is very much through the Justice League in a very on-the-nose sense, but in a good way. He's very much, he's gone from the lone vigilante, very much seeking vengeance, to justice, to full-on, like, representative of justice with the Justice League. So he's very much extolling that out to Deadman here.
Sure.
Yeah. He's socializing more. He's gone from vigilante to hero, so superhero. So it's nice. Okay, so let's see. So roundabout way here. At this point, the Justice League has given our mid-season quality of this episode. The Justice League has picked up on the long con of Gorilla Grodd here, that he's formed the Legion of Doom, and they kind of name dropped the previous episodes in which this is why the bad guys' heads kept shorting out. Grodd has been shorting out their minds, so we didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so then Deadman drops the big lead. It's like, well, all I'm getting are like images of Africa. It's the only thing I can pick up on. Of course, he's wondering what the heck that means. And they all look to each other. Gorilla City.
Okay, so Dragon, this was like I've built it up, and I am very stoked about this whole concept, Dragon. It is like, by and large, I love it so much. It is literally just Wakanda, but for gorillas, and I love it.
Well, we know what would happen if Man-Ape took over.
Right? I am just tickled by this, Dragon. Like, even down to the way the force field works.
Yeah, I mean, well, Tiki, that's all it's always really been, honestly. It's been Wakanda. I mean, I forget. I assume Gorilla City's been around since the '60s, which would be after well, actually, that was the same time as might be the same.
Yeah,
time.
Black Panther was the '60s. Yeah,
that's the thing. So I don't know. I can't really tell you which one came first off the top of my head. I don't know when Gorilla City.
Of course, I do think there is some racial tension to be had in terms of like, oh, you're equating like black people to literal gorillas, so that's a little uncomfortable. But I digress.
Well, I mean, they're literally in Africa, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing. I don't really. It's kind of a semantical anyway. The point being though, you do it. Yeah, you have Gorilla City, which we've only gone to Gorilla City once, but we've had Gorilla Grodd a few times. But the idea is, when we introduced Gorilla Grodd in the DC animated universe, it was in that episode of Justice League, which introduced this whole land of like, where's Gorilla Grodd come from? Well, he basically was a guy who got sick and tired of Gorilla City.
Uh-huh.
So basically, the long and short of it here is Gorilla Grodd, he has the pieces of his plan he finally needs. He's got the heart, which is a power source. He has his famed helmet, which basically magnifies his mind control powers. And basically what he needs is something to kind of take that globally, which is basically the force is essentially the communications array in Gorilla City, which of course Gorilla City is kind of a combination of Wakanda and Planet of the Apes. It's essentially the mixture.
Oh yeah, I mean obviously Grog's like plan by the end of this episode is very literally just like, hey guys, have you ever seen the movie Planet of the Apes? Let's do that. That sounds fun.
Yeah. But more like the Tim Burton version.
Oh god.
Well, ultimately,
don't ever tell me that a Planet of the Apes should be more like the Tim Burton version.
Well, I'm saying ultimately, given the fact it's like a gorilla Lincoln, so it's kind of like that. Ultimately,
yeah, no, you're right.
Anyway, so let's see. So they go there, and of course we have this joke when Dead Man shows up in Superman's body. He says, on that show referencing Star Trek, they never miss. And of course, he revealed the cloaking field and everything. So Dead Man, he gets into his ghostly form and goes on the inside. When he does that, though, Superman wakes up.
You need a spoon.
What am I doing in Africa?
Okay, yeah, that just, oh my god, just like Dragon, we were literally just talking about Weird, the Al Yankovic story, and how that had just wonderful comedic setups and payoffs, and that is like right in line, Dragon. I gotta tell you, I'm having a really good week in terms of like appreciating the art of a good comedic setup.
Yeah, although
because that is up there as far as like the funniest moment in any of these episodes that we've covered.
Yeah, I love just George Newbern's just kind of very straightforward. Only Superman can get away with this so just saying, "What am I doing in Africa?" It's the guy's done everything and been
it's
around.
Just like, yeah, he's not alarmed by it. It's just a very, very straight up question.
Yeah,
and I love how it's like we cut back to we cut back to getting the shield deactivated, and then by the time the shield is deactivated, Superman is totally caught up to speed. He is like absolutely like all in.
Yeah, he's all good. He's all caught up. So essentially, Gorilla City is under siege by Grodd and the Legion of Doom, and you have some cool action going on. Like you have Goldface, for example. Remember, Goldface is every time he punches, it's like a King Midas thing. Every time he punches people, they turn into gold.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So you have action going on there, and Solivar is the white gorilla who's basically he's voiced by the great David Ogden Stiers, by the way.
Yes, I noticed that. Yeah.
So the idea he's the good guy gorilla that runs
Dragon. He kind of. This is gonna sound like a really stupid comparison, but like he reminded me of like if Kerchak lived at the end of Tarzan, he would evolve into like this type of like matriarchal character.
Or if Kerchak lived and turned evil, he'd be exactly Gorilla Grodd.
Oh yes, exactly. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Kerchak is kind of like. Is it fair to say that Kerchak is like the prototype of like he's kind of like the middle road of either of these characters?
Yeah, no, for sure. And of course, the irony of that is that Kerchak in Tarzan, of course, and then the original story, Kerchak was the bad guy, killed the parents.
Oh my, no! In the original story, Kerchak was a freaking bastard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Which I gotta admit,
I'm actually pretty sure there was some elements of like Kerchak like eating previous gorilla babies and shit like that. Like,
sounds about right. Yeah.
So
I love that
fucked up.
It's one of those cases in which Disney, I think, they probably made the best choice for that one. Of like, let's maybe swap that a little.
Well, what's funny is that like we're totally going on a Tarzan rant. I apologize, folks. There's gorillas involved. But my dad is a big Edgar Rice Burroughs fan, and I have gotten him to admit that like Tarzan, just the Disney Tarzan, it's definitely not word for word accurate to the books at all, but it still maintains the spirit of what the books were going for as far as like, the identity, like the whole struggle of the man and the man wanting to be in the ape's body and feeling isolated and everything. Like, so I know that movie is very successful. Anyways,
Anyway, so a dead man, he phases in there, and he basically takes over takes over Atomic Skull's body, and they basically the heck with destroys the panel, and then basically all heck breaks loose where Tala's
basically
in.
goes Kylo Ren on the panel.
Pretty much, the heck with it, which thankfully works. Takes down the force field. Tala then banishes him from that control room, and then we have like Luthor going on with the diversion for the Justice League, which is like he tells Bizarro, Superman is your best friend. You kill him. So they have some awesome fight action. Batman's running in mid
No,
stride,
this
throwing
episode doesn't
batarangs.
engage in the fight, Dragon, but it's very, very cool fight. I will give it credit there. It is very well choreographed fight.
Isn't it so great seeing Batman running like in mid strides, like throwing batarangs and jumping on?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, there is definitely some really cool kind of like cinematic action shots in this.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So then we have this is a big moment. They again tease up something. It's kind of a 3-part thing with Dead Man's story. Ultimately, we have the setup, and we have this, and then we have our ending. So we have Dead Man possessing briefly Wonder Woman, who's fighting with Devil Ray. Now again, remember this. Devil Ray did have like an episode where he went up against Wonder Woman, so he's thinking, I don't know what her deal is this time. But the fact is, using Wonder Woman's body, he has the strength to very easily snap Devil Ray like a twig. And he mentions that you killed an old friend of mine. You have to be more specific. The old monk,
right?
And you want revenge. He beats the crap out of him. Just honestly, he's kicking the utter crap out of him. About to basically could land a killing blow if he wanted to. It's just like, you want revenge, take it. And he remembers Batman's words here. Like, no, he wouldn't. He wouldn't have wanted that. So it's important in this moment to reaffirm that Dead Man did listen to Batman here, and he did take his words to heart, and he just basically wanted to get the aggression and beat the crap out of this guy, but not kill him, because again, that would have been a betrayal of the master and everything. So importantly, he did not want to kill this guy. That's what we establish here. And then of course he leaves the body as Devil Ray's alive, and he's a little ticked off with Wonder Woman right now, and that's going to pay off later too.
Wonder Woman, there's definitely like low key some issues of, of course this is a children's show first and foremost, but like in a very roundabout way, there's definitely like the consent issue being addressed here with
next time ask permission.
Wonder Woman's body to do this shit.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she knows like the only way he could communicate. So I don't think she's that hurt by it. But it's like
no. I'm not saying she's like traumatized by it by any means, right? I'm not going that far. But I'm saying like there is like the whole issue of like next time, how about ask for permission?
But here's something really cool to think about, though.
Okay.
Using our holy trinity of DC,
now. Like obviously Batman is going to be a consent thing.
I'm getting there. Just give me a
sorry.
Point being, we have our holy trinity here of our 3 big pillars of the DC universe, and think of them in a 3-act structure. Act 1, you got Superman, which it's the charm, but like, isn't that kind of fun? You have Dead Man and Superman's body. Superman sounding like a tough New Yorker. Isn't that cute?
Right.
Wonder Woman. Next time, ask permission. Getting a little uneasy there with what Dead Man's doing, but again, there's walking a line, and then of course we cross a big line in the 3rd act. Yeah, that was a progression.
Yeah, no, I hear you for sure.
Okay, let's see. So basically, we have Grodd's big plan, which is news to Luthor here, because again, Grodd's been playing everything very close to the chest. What Luthor thinks is about to happen here is they're in the comms room of Grill City. They plug the heart in, put the helmet on, and basically Luthor thinks, okay, well, Grodd's whole shtick is mind control, so he's going to mind control the populace with the exception of the people in this room.
Mm-hmm.
And then Grodd, by the way, voiced by the wonderful and also now gone to us, Powers Booth. Powers Booth was excellent as Grodd. He was always so great. He was like the
very distinct performance. Very much got kind of like the sophisticated kind of almost elitism of Grodd down.
I like that there is like a hair, and then he makes a joke about this in the big Flash Luthor Brain Switch episode. He makes like, and I'm Charlton Heston. He does sound a little like Charlton Heston when you think about it.
A little bit, yes. I can see it. That's a great voice. That's a great voice direction to go in for the character.
Yeah. Anyway, so he reveals that he brings out this DNA sequencer and he plugs it in, and he reveals that he reveals more by pushing the button itself before telling him that he's turning every man, woman, and child into an ape.
Dun dun dun.
So this is a thing from DC where you've had like this happen. Again, we've seen this happen. Even Marvel did
Because
it.
if everyone's a monkey, then no one will be.
Oh God,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
bit of a stretch.
I know.
It was kind of funny. Marvel got on the action on the. I think Marvel lampooned this at some point because there's like I remember there's a Spider-Man cover, and this is like a recent years thing, not like a way back sort of thing. This is like during when after Spider-Man No More. Sorry,
Uh-huh.
one more after one more day, not Spider-Man No More. Sorry, after one more day, you
One
had
day more, another day, another destiny.
during Brand New Day, which happened after that. You had like this cover of like Spider-Man and Venom fighting, but Venom was like a gorilla and Spider-Man was like a monkey.
Oh,
So I
Jesus Christ.
assume there was like a variant cover that month of all the Marvel books as apes. So it's kind of for random reasons, I'm sure. And here, this was like a thing where like Grodd and the Lizard both had a similar thing. Like we want to turn everyone into apes. So this was a Grodd thing from the comics that we've just found a way of
Okay, to
applying.
be fair, I don't know why. Maybe it is just kind of like the Planet of the Apes, like pop culture osmosis, right? Like we're already kind of like predetermined to like accept that as a sci-fi premise. But I can buy Grodd wanting to turn everyone into apes in this 20-minute episode. Dragon, I can buy that premise a lot more than I can buy freaking the lizard wanting to turn everyone into lizards within the course of like a 2.5 hour movie. I don't know.
That's true. I mean, I'll tell you this: the aesthetic of the apes thing, because you're right, is absorbed into pop culture.
Yeah, right,
Heavily.
right.
That's why it plays so much easily.
Not to mention
However,
that Grodd, I think actually he makes more sense too because it's like Grodd is legitimately like just this superhuman gorilla, so it would make sense, to turn everyone into gorillas so he could lead them all.
I mean,
With the lizard dragon, it literally like the lizard's whole deal in the comics is that it was like a self-preservation move gone wrong. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to turn this into a rant about a movie that came out 10 fucking years ago. I feel old, but I'm sorry.
I think honestly, just to put a button on it, I think what
Yeah,
it is ultimately is that Grodd doing this is an ego move, where the lizard they're trying to play it more straight, where it's a ridiculous thing to turn everyone into the same species. But
right.
with the lizard though, it's like it is there is discussion and time dedicated to it, but it's just a really hard sell. Of like I'm trying to turn everyone into lizards. Well, why? So they can be healed and healthy.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it really makes no sense.
That's the thing. It's a hard. I mean, there's a little bit of a reason to it,
Not
but
to
it's
mention,
still
I'm sorry, but Spider-Man has always been at least a little bit more rooted in reality than DC. In Marvel in general
yeah.
has been a little bit more rooted in reality than DC.
So the
So
point is, it's like it plays to like kind of an egotistical character motive than it does like a scientific motive. Like anyway.
is Grodd going to use mind control on these transformed humans? That's a good question, Dragon. I just assume that with the transformed humans, it's just like since Grodd was already so emotionally superior to all of them, he just kind of like used that to take over. I don't know. What was your read on it?
Well, it's unclear because the big reveal is that Luthor assumed it was mind control, and then it was revealed it was ape. So I mean, I got to admit, and this is to me like the main flaw of the episode in terms of, and we do call it's a huge reveal, obviously that. Yeah, Lex is basically voicing the audience's discontent with Grodd's plan here. Is that was it? You just turned everyone into apes? That was your big plan for all these episodes? And that's the
Dragon
thing.
Dylan from Bates Motel is just like in like off to the side, just like vlogging the whole thing, and he just looks up from his camera. He's like, "What was that?
What was that?
What was that, Grodd?"
Exactly.
Oh
just
God!
tear it.
Now Dylan just got a career as the as this crew's like social media manager for some reason.
Oh, there's the magic Max Terry just off the side reading a book on being a firefighter. Just
Oh
put me
my
down.
God!
What was that? He just goes back to reading the book. No, but
PBS is gonna give me the real money. I'm sorry. I love Dylan. I love that. I love the actor. I love Max Theriot, but that show looks really generic, Dragon. It looks really generic.
Yeah, it seems less generic than the last generic thing he did. So
That's true.
it's a baby
That's
step.
true.
It's
Baby
something.
steps. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, the point being with Greta, I don't know if the mind
I
control.
played Norman Bates' brother.
Who?
God. That's
Anyway,
literally like a Chad Vader setup.
yeah.
Oh
How great did you ever go back to Chad Vader?
yeah, I did, sure.
That's good. All right. Anyway, yeah. So the point being is the fact that we call the episode to me. The problem with the episode is that Grodd he basically accomplishes his goal. He flees and then gets undid in like 5 seconds because the episode's almost over. Now, I'm not saying obviously we need to resolve that by the end of the episode, but it just feels like that was really quick. We just crammed that into the climax, and I think Lex doing what he does kind of helps call that out for how man that really fizzled out, didn't it? And, yeah, maybe we should change leadership after a dumb move like that, and that's what that guy was building up and promising us all riches and everything for. So, in promising everyone what he promised, I assumed he would have had dominion over everything. So I mean, I guess by that logic, he could have controlled them, but it's just basically they're human, just gorillas though. So it's the same logic. So I don't
Right,
know.
right, yeah.
Frankly, Tom Beast, I don't think it was that thought out. But I think that's kind of the point, though. Like, we don't need to worry about that because Grodd's about to be overthrown. So,
Uh-huh.
anyway, and but it's going to get undone in 5 seconds, apparently. Anyway, so they're torturing Dead Man. Tala's using magic to torture Dead Man, and then of course Justice League, the Trinity, they're reacting to being turned into apes. Like Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman has the great reaction though to show you her development over time. Like she's kind of more or less kind of taking it, playing it straight, and more like, oh come on.
Well, Dragon, she's used to this kind of shit at this point.
Yeah, but it's like the gorilla. Come on, man.
So, and Dragon,
yeah.
of course, at this point, before we get to the big gun scene, I was thinking, like, is Batman as a gorilla the reason we're covering this? Just for the novelty of that?
Did you really think I'd make us talk about it just because
Batman? I wasn't sure, Dragon. I really wasn't sure.
God. Point being,
like, yeah, it's cool. Like the image of the Justice League as gorillas is fun, but
all right. So you have Batman and company as gorillas, and Superman basically. They lucked out here. They escape. Importantly, Luthor pulls out his gun and Grodd disarms him before they leave. So importantly, that gun, check out Luthor's gun, if you will. It's there. It's on the floor.
Indeed.
So, point being, they flee. Superman, he basically rips out the thing and he throws it in the air, and it blows up. It takes a lot out of Superman. Just to show you, it was massive. So, point being, Superman, what comes to, they're all back to being human. Then Wonder Woman coins the Flash, a good Flash, kids, the Michael Rosenbaum Flash.
I thought this moment was so endearing. The fact that they all wished that the Flash was there to make a joke.
Yeah. And this Wonder Woman saying, "Well, what I missed, just Flash's obligatory Grodd made a monkey out of us joke." Just couldn't let it go.
Obligatory.
Yeah. All right. So Dead Man, he fears that. Yeah. Yuck it up, guys. Have your super friends moment. All my friends are dead. Basically, the machine's destroyed. We don't.
My parents are dead, just like your parents are dead.
All right.
I'm sorry.
So, Solivar, he's expressing gratitude and saying, well, on the bright side, we did round up a whole bunch of their cronies, so that's good. Then we have Tiki, the whole reason we're talking about this episode.
Indeed.
The huge, and Tiki, this is like a legit, very huge moment, actually. So, Devil Ray shows up.
No, any time with Batman and guns, yeah, for sure. It's a big deal.
So Devil Ray shows up. He's seeking revenge on Wonder Woman. Really dead man, but he doesn't know that. Sees Wonder Woman, takes aim, and he's about to kill her because he almost killed her with that poison thing. For all we know, he's going to shoot her with another one of those. We don't know what he's going to shoot at her, so she could have been in legit danger here. So
no, I love how this moment. It's like there really isn't a bad guy in this situation at all, Dragon.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Like, you totally understand how Batman absolutely feels violated and almost traumatized by what goes down here. But by the same point, you also understand that if it didn't happen, Wonder Woman might have literally been shot dead in cold blood, So it's like, it really is just kind of like this great moral quandary. I really, really like it.
And either way, it's on Dead Man, which it's still kind of a wound to Batman. And of course, it would have been Wonder Woman dead, who he cares about. So yeah, either way, it's like it was a no-win situation, but it kind of ended in the worst way possible. I mean, worst way possible in terms of for Batman,
Right.
So Deadman, in a split second decision, he possesses Batman, who lunges and grabs Luthor's gun and
Hmm.
shoots Devil Ray. And here's the thing: he disarms. And this had to be a standards and practice thing. So you notice Luthor has like an energy weapon. He shoots the blaster at like a little wrist mounted blaster out of the Devil Ray's hand, which flings him back to this electrical panel, which electrocutes him violently to death.
Right. So it's like important to note that the gun itself doesn't even kill him.
Yeah,
It's just kind of like a catalyst to killing him. And
yeah,
so, oh, there's a lot of interesting layers here, Dragon. It's like I said, it's so fast because this whole scene is like maybe like less than a minute worth of screen time throughout a 22-minute episode. And yet I absolutely think this scene like has all the meat on it to justify covering this episode within the context of animated Batcave. I love it.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I mean, here's the thing. So it is. It's a BS&P thing of like, we can't just have him shoot him dead right there because that is what we no way we'll be able to get away with like handgun killing a character on screen.
Dragon, you know what? I'm just gonna throw out a good old picture Pixar. We don't care because you're absolutely right. Like by any sort of logic, we don't like. There's no way that it'd be an in cold blood moment.
Yeah, but still, the fact that it is morally gray makes it even worse, and in the best of
Uh-huh.
ways. I mean, it makes it even more complex and like, oh man, because it's not again puts Batman in such a quandary where it's like he's just questioning things, Where so Batman's body has picked up a gun and has led to essentially has killed somebody, not intentionally, but it has killed somebody,
Yeah.
which is like the big principles of the man's entire life violated before our very
Hmm.
eyes. And I mean, how
Hmm.
gobsmacking was this moment to you when you saw
Oh, it
it?
was. It was. Well, like I said, of course, the big thing for me, Dragon, was I was kind of on the edge of my seat already because I was like, like the moment absolutely played out where I was like, okay, like why are we like this is a good episode, but why is it in the animated Batcave
Mm-hmm.
repertoire? And then the moment played out, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why. That makes sense. Yeah, that's big.
I love it's so brief. Like they probably didn't even need to do the whole like the
Right, right, yeah.
voice thing here, but I love that Batman reacting to it as Dead Man, then it kind of transitions to his horrified reaction where you see it's a haunting moment, literally a haunting moment. He's a ghost. I love that Batman as Dead Man is saying, "I didn't mean to kill him." Essentially, I didn't mean to kill him, and he basically phases out of the bodies. Batman's kind of playing catch up to what's just happened, and he's just horrified. And you see him just guilt ridden, and he just throws the gun, breaking it against the wall. And then I love Superman seeing his buddy in utter anguish here. He walks up
Uh-huh.
to him, and Superman, the beacon of hope in the DC universe, walks up to Batman in this utter despair, puts his hand on his shoulder and says, Batman, Dead Man took control of your body. It wasn't your fault. Batman just he doesn't
Yeah,
say
that is
anything.
like that is genuinely like it goes way beyond superheroes or superpowers or gods or mythology. That moment right there, Dragon, is like 100% purely a friend helping another friend through a traumatic incident. And
Yeah.
there's just something so humane about that.
And I love that. Just there's honestly, it breaks my heart in all the right ways here. As Batman doesn't respond to that, he
Uh-huh.
walks out, and we just essentially the group kind of turns their back on Dead Man for what's happened here. And I love Dead Man. Just he's just pleading to deaf ears, very literally here, for Batman's forgiveness. Here, it's like you understand, he was gonna kill her, and
Yeah, I
just
mean, and that's the thing. It's like I do think that Batman does understand, but by the same point, it's still just like, again, it's just kind of like the morally fucked up gray areas that trauma has on you. You know?
it's the fact that Batman. This is something they kind of explore a little bit in the DC. It's more in the tie-in stuff, but it's kind of you kind of feel it, but it's a retroactive thing because they didn't have Return of the Joker before Batman Beyond. Batman in this very morally complex situation, which a gun is used to kill somebody that saves somebody ultimately, he fundamentally will not forgive them, and he just can't. So
Right.
Batman is never going to forgive Dead Man, and I feel it breaks your heart. It's just kind of like, oh man, they were friends.
Uh huh.
And then also one of only two times ever Batman holds a gun in the DCAU.
Oh wow.
One
Yeah,
of
that is
two
big.
times ever. So this is huge. So Dead Man's pleading for forgiveness that he's not going to get, and And then we have so then Deadman is then summoned kind of Madam Web style from Spider-Man the animated series. Ramakrishna just kind of enters to inform Boston Brand that his intentions are immaterial. You've unbalanced the scales of karma. And he's calling BS on karma. Like karma, look what happened to my monk buddies. They're all dead. And she gives him the good news. Like, hey, everyone you care about's alive. When the heart broke, all the souls returned, and even the master's alive. He's good.
Okay, now that to me was like the biggest gimme of the episode, where it's like, oh yeah, of course we can actually have a body count within this episode.
To be fair, though, those monks that do get fried, though, they might have actually they might have been dead. We don't know.
True.
But then again, we have this line. There's this line that the master has, and I don't know with all the mythology of Nanda Parbat, but I assume Nanda Parbat, it's a little similar. I think there's like traces. I'm not saying there's actual legit traces of Lazarus Pit here, but I think there's like a mystical thing where there might be a renewing kind of energy of Nanda Parbat, where like he says no one dies in Nanda Parbat. So I assume that's why he survived. I assume it's like you don't actually die if you're in Nanda Parbat.
Makes sense.
I could be wrong about that though. I don't know. The point being, Hess says a comforting line there. Then the scales are unbalanced. You're gonna have to work. Your work is not done in this world until they yet again are balanced. So that's where we have our excuse to have more Dead Man. But probably no more Batman adventures.
Uh-huh.
Okay, lastly, though, Legion of Doom. Lex, unhappy with Grodd's plan, I think for understandable reasons. You turned us into apes. That was your plan. And I love this. I love Lex here. Clancy Brown just killing it. Well, almost killing Grodd, but he's killing it here. He says, I wasn't going to do this for a few weeks, but he pulls out a blaster, and she basically shoots this taser blast at Grodd, who lives. But it made you wonder, though.
No, it did make me wonder. Yeah, I was like, honestly, the only reason I knew for sure he wasn't dead was just because of the, the standards and practices. Like, I was like, okay, like, there's no way we could just like get away with murder. Like, basically, Dragon, I didn't hear I was more paying attention to the closed caption, so I didn't really hear the groans.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's more standards and practices, or do you think it's PETA?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Like, you can't kill a gorilla on a kid's show? What will the one and only Ivan think?
Oh, God.
Anyway, so now
he is the one and only after all.
Yeah. So Lex is in charge now. Tala is like forsaking the boyfriend that is Grodd yet again. And it says, anyone have a problem with that? It's just, no problem at all, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lex is in charge now. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, final thoughts, Dragon. Like I said, this is it is a really fun Justice League episode with the Legion of Doom stuff for sure. And then of course we have the little added bonus, some of the fun body swapping with Deadman, and the added bonus of seeing the main trinity of characters in the Justice League as gorillas. I mean, that's fun in its own right, and being introduced to Gorilla Wakanda. So, but then yeah, of course, just that one kind of like less than a minute long thing with Batman and the gun also just gives the episode a ton of weight that it wouldn't already have. So yeah, I gotta say, Dragon, out of all the Justice League stuff, this is probably up there for me. I wouldn't say it's like the top tier Justice League thing we've covered. I definitely think there's some wonky plot elements, and like we said, this is probably like out of everything that we've covered in Batman the Animated Series so far, very, very substantial Batman content, but very light Batman content at the same time. So kind of middle of the pack as far as like Batman episodes within Justice League. But like I said, as far as just sheer standalone Justice League episodes go, I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, I concur. Very great standalone, excellent Batman moment there. Very gobsmackingly, and also great introduction of a great one-off character in Deadman. Very nicely conveyed. Makes you want to go back and maybe see those Deadman comics from the animated tie-in stuff turned into episodes. If I'm being frank.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I will warn you before we get into the usual spiel here. Like, yeah, we're gonna have one more of these coming up. Based the last one of the Justice League Unlimited things,
where it's like kind of like just one big moment for Batman.
Yeah, but we kind of have to cover this one because it is the ending of the DC animated universe. So
Well, yeah, Dragon. I would think
Yeah.
yes, that would be a big stepping stone.
All right.
All right. So, with that in mind, Dragon, put on your best Bill Dozier and tell us what comes next.
Endgame for the DCAU. The Batman with a crazy idea to save the day. The ultimate Superman moment. Can the Justice League save the world one last time? Will the Dark Knight make some daring feats, manage some daring feats in everything Zack Snyder ever dreamed of? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next visit to the animated Batcave with Destroyer. You have to use a spoon.
Why am I in Africa?